Hello everyone, and welcome to our Tech Returners webinar in partnership with Deutsche Bank. So if you are in here, please make sure to say hello in the chat and let us know where are you connecting from today. I always like to see where people are based. And I see we already have 18 people, so that's fantastic. Just, yeah, like let us know where you're connecting from. We're going to start in about 2 minutes, just making sure everyone is settled in. And today I am joined by James, one of my colleagues and CTO of Tech Returners. I'll let him do his introduction in a bit. And also we have Helen, the CTO of Deutsche Bank, and a couple more members of their team. So I will let them again do an introduction a bit later on, and you'll hear directly from them throughout this webinar. So lovely to see a couple people from London, from Gloucester, fantastic. Yeah, lovely to see you. So without further ado, we have a couple of things to cover. So I will share my screen and we're going to get going. So what we're going to be talking about today, I'll briefly introduce who we are as Tech Returners and why the TR4 program exists. Then the bit that I'm sure a lot of you are interested in, how the program works, kind of what is covered inside it. Something that we've never really introduced before is our £2,000 returner bursary, something that is new for this year. And then you'll have the opportunity to hear directly from Deutsche Bank and what the role specifically is. Finally, if you're interested in applying, I'll share more about the key dates and the application process, and you'll be able to ask any questions. Now, please, if something comes to mind while you're listening, you can post it in the chat. One member of our team will collect the questions, or alternatively, there is also a button on the bottom of your Zoom that says Q&A. You can post your question in there as well. And again, we'll make sure to get over to your questions at the end. So Tech Returners was set up in 2017, 7 years ago, by Becky and James, and their mission was to really remove the barriers that people face when they try to join or return to their careers in technology. And this is something that we have been doing for the past 7 years. So what started with trial cohorts with partners like AO and AutoTrader, then moved into the Your Journey into Tech program. At that point, we worked with companies such as Lloyds Bank, ANS, Infinity Works, and also 2019 saw us have an exclusive partnership with the BBC to increase their diversity in their teams. In 2020, our flagship Your Return to Tech program was born, and we partnered with companies such as BE Systems, Xero, AO, Nando's, The Guardian, Telegraph, and Booking.com, and actually quite a few more to, again, improve the diversity in their team and help people return back into tech. In 2023, we rebranded our program from Your Return to Tech simply to the Tech Returners program because everyone was calling it that anyway. And we partnered with Hastings Direct and BE Systems Digital Intelligence, again, to bring returners back into their teams. At that point, we also started to do Department for Education funded programs because we joined North Coders Group. And so we had access to a lot of funding that was able to support returners through those programs as well. Now, in 2024, we launched our new Tier 4 program, which is what you're here for today. And we're going to share a lot more about what the program is right now. Just so you have an idea what we used to do in the past, we used to run those absolute programs. We would have 6 to 12 returners being hired at one point, and we would work exclusively with one hiring partner. And as I mentioned last year, we also ran those Department for Education fully funded programs where we had cohorts of up to 24 people, and returners were responsible for their own job search as there wasn't a specific hiring partner for that program. So if you're wondering, did it work? A lot of that worked. When we partnered with our hiring partners, we were able to achieve the hiring numbers they were looking for. And what we're really proud of is that 6 months in, 12 months in, 97% of people were still in their role. So there was a very high retention and loyalty. We also were very proud of our recruitment processes, and we constantly hear from returners that we make the interviewing process less scary and a lot kind of more inclusive and supportive. And because of that, our cohorts were quite diverse, having people from a variety of nationalities, cultures, genders, ethnicities, age groups, and so on. And I think during my time over the past 2.5 years, I've seen people on career breaks as short as 6 months, all the way to 19 years. And all of those people were able to return. What's more, I think something that I'm very proud of, being the career and mindset coach in tech returners, that 92% of returners actually reported that their confidence increased, which I think is really crucial when you're coming back into tech. However, you probably, if you follow the news, you have heard about the big tech layoffs in 2022, 2023. It mostly happened in a lot of like American-based companies. However, because of the size of the layoffs, it impacted the industry as a whole. And so last year, so was having quite a lot of challenges. For example, the companies were implementing hiring freezes, and it was a lot harder to sign off budgets because of how unpredictable the market was. We also struggled a little bit to place returners because of that uncertainty. And those absolute programs that we mentioned were 3.5 months long. And so it would take quite a long time from starting to work with a hiring partner up until the people were actually in their company. And because of the duration of the program, we also realized that not every returner was actually able to support themselves during those 3-4 months. And so we listened to the market, and we also listened to our returners, and we adapted how we support diverse experienced engineers like yourselves in re-entering the tech industry. And so this is how our new TR4 program was born. We basically took everything that worked from our past programs, kind of the best parts of it, and then combined them in a new model that we believe is relevant for the current hiring market. And this is how the Tier 4 program started. So how Tier 4 works is that each month we'll partner with a company. And so for the month of June, we are partnering with Deutsche Bank. And the goal of this collaboration is to find skilled software engineers who are experienced and want to return back into tech. So what we've done already is we are collaborating with the technical and recruitment teams, and we really dive deep to understand the exact requirements of Deutsche Bank and their teams. And now we're leveraging our years of experience of sourcing engineers and finding them to then pick the people that are the perfect fit for Deutsche Bank. The program itself starts in about a month. And so this is when the selected 4 engineers would get bespoke technical and career and mindset mentoring to help them to sharpen their technical skills, but also to kind of build up the confidence to come back to the industry. And after the program, those engineers receive support to integrate with their new teams and ready to make an impact right from the start. So how do you know if you're in the right place? Well, first of all, this program is right for you if you've had a career break or if you've recently been impacted by technical layoffs. This program is also right for you if, while you have been on a break, you have maybe read a little bit, maybe done a personal project, like started to upskill yourself to remember what it's like to actually code and be a developer. The people that really do well are the people that are using that time to up-level their skills. This program is also right for you if you're self-aware and you want to return to tech right now. You know exactly why you want to return at this moment. And kind of on the back of that self-awareness, that program is very much mentor-led. And so if you ask for feedback and then you implement it, this is when you see the best results. It might not be the best fit for you though, if you realize that, oh, you've had a very long break and you haven't even started to refresh your skills. Because the program is only 4 weeks long, we don't have time to teach you everything. And so everything that you've done beforehand is actually going to support you to really succeed on the program. If you're on the fence whether now is the right time or not, you can give us a call. But generally speaking, we want people who know that now is the perfect time to come back. This program is not the right fit for you if you don't have commercial experience in tech, in which case we would definitely recommend looking into more junior boot camps, but this program is for experienced engineers. It's also not great if you only want to develop on the technical side, but you kind of don't care about the mindset thing, because we find that the people that succeed are the people that combine both sides and develop kind of simultaneously in both areas. And you need to be open to feedback because you will get the most out of the program if you implement it. So I will pass over to James to share a little bit more about the program details.
Well, thanks, Millie. Yeah, and introducing myself. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm James. I'm the co-founder alongside Becky of Tech Returners. My particular focus on this program is that I'll be the person doing the technical side of the mentoring. And like Millie said, Millie will be doing the career and mindset. So I'll be supporting the engineers with your journey across the 4 weeks that we're going to cover in a moment, aligned to the technical stack that Deutsche Bank leverage. In terms of my background, as it mentions there, I've been involved in the tech industry since around 2007. Originally started as a Java developer and grew through that organization into the head of development, responsible for around 30 different technical individuals. Moved into DevOps consultancy for government organizations, and in more recent times, as we just mentioned, the co-founder. I also organise the DevOps Manchester meetup. So a bit around what you can expect from the programme that helps you understand if it's right for you, and kind of helps you understand how we operate as well. So it's all remote sessions like this, but in a Zoom meeting format. So delivered over Zoom, and there's also one-to-one calls where we really focus in on you as an individual, delivered via Zoom as well. All the material that we create and the materials that we share are all shared on the kind of learning management system that we use, which is Google Classroom. So you have access to all that, and that's where we deliver the projects as well, and they'll have links to GitHub and things like that in terms of your own technical projects that you do on the program. We create a dedicated Slack cohort channel, and that's really useful for you and your peers to share ideas and understanding, and you know, actually build out your own learning. And we really encourage people to leverage that Slack channel, because you know, you might be experiencing a challenge or trying to get something working and post it into there, and it gives your peers and yourself that opportunity to say, oh, I experienced that, which makes us feel not alone, or reaffirm their own knowledge by explaining back to you what they did. So we have a dedicated Slack cohort channel where we collaborate on. That is just for yourself and your peers that are on the program with you. We focus in on individual support from our coaching team, and that's, again, mentioned it, career and mindset and technical. So we'll understand from yourself via the process, you know, areas that you would like to develop on. For example, in this program, you might say, I feel really confident with Java and the Spring framework, but I've not really used Docker. So that's something we might focus in on from a technical viewpoint. And one of the areas that we focus ourselves on is clear and actionable feedback. So giving people feedback on their work so that you know, A, what things you've done really well and why that's a good thing, and you should continue to kind of leverage that skill. And then also B, what areas can be developed or tweaked even further to get even more value about out of your actions. All our sessions will fall between the times of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. We kind of pick those times to kind of keep them available for people. The thing I would say is we don't put you in a Zoom call from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. We're not expecting people to be in Zoom calls for that time. A lot of it will be your own asynchronous working, so you can work at times that work for you. But in terms of the actual sessions that we run, we make sure they fall in between those times. For example, there might be a session in the morning at 10 a.m. that we do 10 till 11, and then the remaining of the time is time for you to work on an individual nature, and whatever time works for you. Oh, just jump back. Sorry, Miller. In terms of, it's a combination, we mentioned the sessions are a combination of technical and career and mindset mentoring. So there'll be kind of individual meetings with Millie from kind of interview practice and things like that, or own individual career and mindset development, as well as individual aspects from me. But there, you will be busy. Millie talked about it a little bit at the start around the types of people that will succeed at the program, and that kind of timing there, 30 to 35 hours. Really, what we mean and what we want, I would like to get across to you, is you get out what you put into the program. Anybody that succeeds on the program, you see them kind of, they'll cover the material and they'll work through the projects that we assign. But you can also see they've got that aspect of, I'm just going to read about this area so that I understand a little bit more about that. Or they have that kind of mindset of, I've got it working, but I don't quite, this bit I would like to know a bit more about just how I got that working, or any of those kind of aspects. So it's really that's how much time you can expect to commit to the program. And a lot of our work is asynchronous. So again, you can work through projects in times that work for you. You might in the day have to take a pause because you've got another current commitment, and then pick it up later on, but we try and do it asynchronously. So I'll do a little bit around the tech mentoring and what you can expect, and then pass on to Millie around the career mindset. So each program, the thing I would say as well is each program is entirely bespoke to the hiring partner, and in this case, Deutsche Bank. So some of this I'll run through and as a broad level, but we do also adapt it as we understand about the hiring partner. But as a general approach to the 4 weeks, week 1 is focused really on your individual, so your own development needs. So it might be that we review the job description, and there may be areas where you go, like I just mentioned, I feel quite comfortable with those areas, but this one, can you explain a little bit more around me that? So that's development analysis. And there's also an individual project straight away in week 1 that you'll get creating. And like I mentioned, this particular program's a Java stack. So there's aspects of Java on the back end, and the Spring framework, and React for the front end. Week 2 is where we go to like personal progression, so developing yourself on that individual basis. For this particular program, actually, we'll have group projects as well. So that will be where we develop you working as a team. And again, working as the team, we've got, the technical skills, but some of the crucial things are how we do planning meetings, adopting kind of a sprint-based approach and some of those agile processes that mean if we experience them as a team and on a cohort, when we transition into Deutsche Bank, you'll feel a bit more comfortable. We do a particular focused week on interview readiness. So we get information from Deutsche around the interview, and we can support you with being ready for that. And we do things like mock interviews. And then towards the final stages of the programs where we're really, okay, we're at a stage now, we feel interview ready for the program. Let's talk about that transition point when we're going into the career. So I'll hand to Millie, who will run through the career mindset aspect.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, James. So similarly to what James was saying, each program is bespoke. And so what you're seeing here is kind of a general overview, but obviously we can implement more sessions or slightly different sessions that are going to support you specifically for this program. So generally, in the first week, we're going to do a strength and kind of areas of development analysis for you, so you can set your own goals on how you want to develop throughout the programs. We also usually do an introduction to the company, and we don't yet know whether that's going to be in person in the Deutsche Bank offices or a virtual one. But either way, you are going to be able to meet the team that you're going to be kind of part of, and you're going to meet people from the hiring partner themselves. The second week is focused on being able to share your returner story with confidence, and we'll focus on your presentation skills and kind of like improving that with feedback. You'll also hear from our hiring partner about what a day in the life of an engineer looks like, and you may also hear a bit more about the specific domain knowledge for that specific team. The third week is focusing a lot more on understanding your value as a returner. So things like transferable skills, your past projects, how all of that can contribute into the new environment. And again, you're going to be able to practice your presentation skills and improve on that. And the final week is usually focused on like mock interviews and preparing you for the interview process with Deutsche Bank. Also, we focus on things like how to feel more confident when you're returning back into work. And so again, we can review the goals that you focused on in the first week and see how you have kind of improved and advanced on that. So like to clarify as well, if you have any questions, I've seen a couple of people already post questions, which is fantastic. Please keep them coming. Now, something that's really exciting for me, because it is the first time we are actually doing it as a Tech Returners team, is that for each of the 4 participants in the program are going to receive a £2,000 bursary each. And that bursary is there for you to help you to support with living expenses. If you're a parent, maybe the cost of childcare or any like travel or any other expense that you might incur while being on the program. And so we want you not to worry about the financial side of things. We want you to have an accessible route for you to be back into tech and to be able to focus 100% on kind of improving your skills and getting back into the industry. So I always like to look at kind of a program as a little bit of a relationship where both sides commit something to each other. And so from our perspective, what we commit is to provide you with a free program to upskill you and kind of develop you, and for that development to be tailored to your individual needs. So it's not a one size fits all, and each person will get what they need from that program. We'll also support you with the technical and behavioral interview preparation for interviews with Deutsche Bank, so you can go into that process feeling really comfortable and confident that you can pass and get your dream role. And we also commit to providing that 2,000 bursary that I just mentioned. What we expect in exchange kind of from your side, from your commitment, is to complete the full program. So that's, like James mentioned, 30 to 35 hours a week. Again, it doesn't have to be a 9 to 5 commitment. We understand people may need flexibility, but we expect you to have to spend about that amount of time every week to really gain the most out of it. We ask of you to go through all interview stages that are provided by the hiring partner and to not apply for any other roles during the program. So basically, once you get a place on the program, we expect you to like focus exclusively on applying for Deutsche Bank and being part of that program. And like I mentioned, there are going to be a lot of interactions with the Deutsche Bank team. And so we would like you to engage with them, ask questions, just kind of like be part of the program as much as you can. So without further ado, I'll pass over to James to introduce a little bit more about who Deutsche Bank are, and then we're going to move to a really interesting Q&A section where you can hear more from their team. Right, over to you, James.
Well, thanks, Millie. So yeah, if the Deutsche Bank team want to pop on their cameras and join me, we'll do a little bit of a QA so everybody can see you. Thanks for joining, everyone. So this is where they've heard from us, but this is where I think people are most interested, is hearing from Deutsche Bank and your involvement in the programme. It's probably worth, actually, before I dive into the questions, if we do some intros, if that's all right. So Helen, do you want to kick us off and then maybe pass to one of your colleagues next? If you want to do a little intro for us, please, Helen.
Yeah, thanks, James. So my name's Helen Tappel. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the Investment Banking and Anti-Financial Crime Division in Deutsche Bank Technology. So, myself and my team really look after sort of some of the core platforms that underpin a lot of the applications that we run to support our business, and obviously generate revenue for the organisation. But we're also, focused on what key technologies and technology strategies we should be employing across the organisation and obviously within investment banking world. But we also look at other aspects such as sort of engineering culture and how developers can work more productively. So quite a big remit there. I'll pass over to Peter now.
Thanks, Helen. Hi, everyone. So, my name is Peter Thomas. I'm a distinguished engineer within DB. The distinguished engineers, we're a small group of 18 of our most senior technologists, and a lot of our work is very much what Helen just said. So we work a lot with our training program. We have a training program from graduate to our senior levels. We work on our engineering culture and promotion process. We have a career framework that supports all of our corporate titles and all different job families within technology. We help to organise all our events. We run an internal conference. We run a hackathon and other events for all of our teams. So our distinguished engineers, we help with all of those activities, as well as helping with things like technology strategy and some of the other things, standards and things like Helen was mentioned. So that's it for me. I'll pass over to George.
Thanks, Peter. Hi, everyone. George Parry. I head up the talent acquisition function for Tech, Data and Innovation, or TDI, as we call it, at Deutsche Bank. I've been at the firm for coming up for a year now, but worked in the industry for over 20 years. My role here is running teams across the globe, delivering the hiring across all levels within Deutsche Bank Technology. We make approximately over 4,000 hires globally a year within tech. So lots of different types of skills and lots of different types of methods that we apply, everything from graduate recruitment all the way through to kind of managing director hiring and everything in between, and also engaging with lots of different angles around how do we focus on a more engineering based skill set that we're bringing into the bank, but also applying diversity lenses as well to make sure we kind of really represent the clients that we service and the customers that we service. So thank you. I'll pass over to Priya.
Thanks, George. I'm Priya Jayaraman, and I've been with the bank for about now 16 plus years. And as my title says, I'm a lead software engineer, and my day job is obviously involving coding in mainly Kotlin programming language. But I would probably talk about the day of in the life of an engineer shortly. And I do work in a team of about 6 people as a sprint team. I have been a tech returner myself, and I was a business analyst in the past as well. So back to the tech readiness team.
Yeah, Bill, thanks everyone. We've got obviously the right people on here for questions, I think. So they can hear from us about the programme and, you know, why we believe in it, but I think it's important to hear from yourselves. So Helen, why is this programme important to Deutsche Bank?
Well, I think this programme sort of fits with a sort of a portfolio of initiatives that we run in Deutsche Bank to really focus on building a very sort of diverse and inclusive workforce within technology. I think it's fair to say technology has probably not been the most diverse workforce, probably since it was initiated, really. And you know, we value that diversity in thinking, the diversity in culture, and we've seen the benefits of it over a number of years. And it's really been my sort of personal mission since I joined to, you know, see what we could do to sort of think outside the box a little bit to continue to build that, because it's very easy to stagnate, certainly when it comes to hiring. So we've run a number of initiatives. Some, you know, I think Priya can talk to, where we sort of taken people who were not in a technology field before. We put them through some extensive training with another vendor and then brought them in as very junior software engineers. But we've also sort of successfully had a returner program at Deutsche Bank, which looks to people who've taken, like many of yourself, a career break and then want to come back into employment. But what we see through that program, a very small number of software engineers. So I was very keen that we focused on those individuals, those who are sort of techie through and through, and want to come back and, you know, back into the world of coding. And, you know, I understand that when you do that, it's difficult. It's, you know, even if you've been out for a year, things have moved on extensively. Things move on daily in this world, and sort of working out what you should be learning and what path you should be taking sometimes needs a little bit of guidance. You know, you've got the foundation, majority of you probably have got, so you come from a technology engineering comp sci degree, you've had the work experience, but, you know, the gap sometimes undermines your confidence as well. So, you know, this program is ideal at addressing those values, and we, you know, again, yet another stream of good people joining our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of connection to why we do it from those aspects, and then also the commercial outcome, like George was saying, I picked up on George said around, because our customers are diverse in their nature, and we kind of want that line of thinking as well, isn't it? I think this is a particularly huge question, and I suspect it could take a few days to answer. But if you were to help our returners with the context, what does Deutsche Bank do? Help them with those applications as they send them in to us.
Yeah, no, it's a. I mean, I guess the first thing is that there's plenty out there. You know, we've got a really good presence online. But in a nutshell, you know, we call ourselves a global house bank, but what we're here predominantly for our clients. Now, our clients can be, you know, very different. You know, we have sort of, I guess, three main functions to our bank. We have our private bank, which is predominantly in Germany, and that's very similar to your bank on the high street, the banks that you're back with personally. So we, you know, obviously provides all the products that you would see in that retail banking world. And you know, we've been on a very extensive digitalization journey around that offering. The other part of the organization is what we call the corporate bank, and that's dealing with you know, clients that are, you know, large organizations themselves. We deal with a lot of the high volume payment networks that support those clients, as well as, you know, investments for those clients. And then the final area, which is where I'm, you know, my team are working in, is in the investment banking section. And this is obviously, investment banking sort of deals with the buying and selling and assisting of for our clients around security assets, whether that be sort of stocks and shares, or whether that be sort of credit-based products, or much more complicated products, financial products. And so we're there to support that. You know, we are a very sort of esteemed player in the FX market, and we have developed over the years some sort of best-in-class ultra low latency trading platforms. We also have to have a lot of functions that support those markets, whether that's how we sort of settle our trades, our deals, but also there's a compliance aspect to that. So we cover sort of anti-financial crime and compliance, and make sure that we report, and you know that we are highly regulated. From every regulator out there, we are regulated, so we have to ensure that you know, our risk and compliance framework is supported by technology as well.
Yeah, and I expect that's an interesting, you know, moving at pace whilst also working in an environment that is regulated, that has compliance, that has, you know, for the right reasons, audit and things like that. That's an interesting approach, I suspect, for engineers to always balance, you know, balance that kind of let's move at pace and get things out for customers and make them happy, but also we need to make sure we do it in the right way, in a compliant way, that we're not on the, you know, and that investment area that you mentioned, Helen, that seems, I could be wrong, I'm not in the four walls, but seems to be a growth area, you know, hitting more consumers that are starting to think, oh, maybe I can invest my money, and hitting people that maybe in the past weren't investors, you know.
Yeah, I think that tends to be those, you know, from an individual, that tends to be more in the private bank and some of the corporate bank areas. But, you know, what I would say is that, you know, the area continues to grow. It's a highly competitive space. You know, we're dealing with those disruptors all the time in terms of fintechs. So from a technology point of view, you're right, you know, it's constantly changing. How do we ensure we have the best digital offering? How do we ensure we have the best client experience? And as you say, balancing that with our sort of our risk profile means that we have to develop, you know, secure software, and that really talks to how we build and deploy our software. And then I think Peter could talk to that as well. But so there's all these very interesting elements, and you know, first and foremost, we're here to make our clients money. So that's probably the biggest driver for us.
Yeah, brilliant. On that note, Peter, what like Helen's mentioned, what impact can people have at Deutsche Bank? What impact can their work have?
Well, I think certainly to continue on from what Helen's saying, and Priya mentioned this a little bit as well, is like we these roles are within teams delivering software. So a software engineering role contributing towards our solutions. And like Helen said, we've sort of got three sort of different types of things we do. We do client-facing or market-facing things. So these are applications which are used by our customers or will be used for us to integrate with markets and exchanges. Then we have a sort of a suite of applications which are used internally within DB to run the business. So in order for us to manage the processing of trades, you need systems that can do that. There's systems that make sure that we are compliant and manage our customer relationships and those sorts of things. So that's the sort of second category. And then we have a category which is sort of IT for IT. So these are systems that we build that are used by other people within building their software. So we might use that for sort of helping with testing, for example, like Helen mentioned, or security, or these sorts of principles, or things that help with the cloud. So, but certainly all of these are very important, and they are all either helping us to deliver revenue, reducing our costs, reducing our risk profile, or accelerating the way that we do other things. So effectively, everything that we do is impactful in some way to the organization. You know, we have more work to do than we possibly could do, so we are always doing the most important, highest priority work. And then sort of from a what is the role like? Well, I think Bizan asked a question sort of relating to this, saying that is it around microservices on GCP and things like that. So some applications, so you would be within a role doing software engineering. That software engineering role could be a greenfield role where you're building a new application. And in those cases, you'll probably be building a microservices style application that's cloud native, so running within Kubernetes or some other platform on Google Cloud. You might be working on an existing application, doing enhancements to it, so making small enhancements or helping with the migration of that application from our on-prem infrastructure to the cloud infrastructure. Or you might be working in a role that's doing more of a DevOps role, or more of helping to improve the technical debt or improve an application which is already existing, or helping to improve its scalability. But effectively, all of these roles are sort of just different aspects of like software engineering. We're training this around Java, predominantly Java and Spring, but like Priya was mentioning, Priya's using Kotlin, and Kotlin is quite an easy language to learn as a step on from Java. So this isn't necessarily all roles that will just be Java roles, but there'll be a way for you to learn on the job if you're moving from Java to these other technologies. Maybe Priya can talk about some of that when she talks later on.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Peter. So yeah, you can see those different streams and for the people listening, those different streams, have a think about what things you connect with and aspects. And like Peter said, there's that aspect of the new services, but also I think, again, to help you make those decisions yourself, think about that, picking up that existing code base. Think about situations where you've done that in the past. You know, the chances are Deutsche Bank have got a fair amount of code to look at, and I suspect there's a lot of services that you're going to kind of pick up where there's an existing code base, and getting to grips with that, understanding the domain is part of the skills that will come with it. George, culture, everyday life, that's a huge question. Again, I think this really helps our returners understand, is that for me? That's what question I kind of want people pinging off in their head. What's everyday life like at Deutsche Bank? What's the culture like?
Yeah, I think Helen touched on the diversity of our business, but yeah, there's a huge diversity of culture as well. Deutsche Bank is an organization that's over 150 years old, 90,000 employees across 60 countries, over 150 nationalities. You know, all that brings together quite a kind of diverse perspectives, which we welcome as an organization. But with that, obviously, it brings different perspectives and different views that we need to make sure we're on the same journey, and ultimately, you know, creating success for Deutsche Bank and our clients. So there are some kind of guiding principles around it, and there has been some kind of refresh quite recently on around this. But the 4 guiding principles that we have around our culture is act responsibly. So, you know, integrity is really key. You know, we work in an industry that's regulated, but treating people with respect, taking accountability. These are really important things in the day-to-day work. Speaking up, you know, if you see something that's not right, it's okay to speak up, and actually that's reinforced a lot here. And also listen. You know, it's all good, well, speaking up. You need someone to listen. So people in management roles need to take that responsibility as well. Think commercially. So we talked about it already, but you know, the client experience is really important, and whether that's an external client or someone that's an internal stakeholder that's servicing an external client, you know, it's all an extension of our kind of our business, and thinking about the impact of long-term decisions in the long term. So rather than just short-term solutions that could have a negative impact, you know, getting people to think about the kind of future. Being innovative solutions, so challenge that status quo. There will be people that, you know, we're not perfect, you know, we're always striving to improve, you know, and we want people coming in with new perspectives that can come up with different ways of solving ideas, and we're very open to that. And finally, working collaboratively. You know, when you've got such a huge organization with all these different perspectives and ideas, you know, we do need to work together, listen to each other, and embrace these diversity of views and perspectives and cultures within the organization, and ultimately treat everyone fairly. You know, these are the things that kind of underpin, I'd say, the culture of the organization.
And I think that, you know, if you're going to have that innovation aspect, like Helen mentioned, there's challenges, right? We get the disruptors, I think the word you used, Helen. You're going to have that innovation aspect. You have to have that speaking up aspect as well, don't you? You kind of have to have that ecosystem of those values, because otherwise, if you don't have, you know, if you have, we really respect innovation, but we hate failure and we don't want people to speak up about it, then it's not going to, you can't have the two. They're kind of mutually exclusive, those kind of aspects. So it gives a bit of an insight. And I suspect, you know, how that then manifests itself with an organization that has compliance, has audit, and these things that we've talked about will be really interesting for people to understand. And that, like you said, calling it speaking up, something that speaks to me. I think that's, you know, to see how, I know you'll have subcultures in teams, and of course we have that kind of thing, but see how that manifests itself would be really interesting as well. Priya, we heard about your journey. Been with Deutsche for a substantial amount of time, and you said you were BA in the past and now lead engineer. So it's really great to see, and a returner. So it's a great person to ask questions. What's your typical day-to-day life? Put a bit of colour into it for what your typical day-to-day life as an engineer might be. Tell me a bit more about it.
Sure. As Peter said, I'm a microservice engineer, actually. I'm a backend engineer. I did train to be a full stack, but I think I enjoy the backend part more. You know, initially, obviously, I want to just spend most of my time coding, actually, because as an engineer, that's what I want to do. I don't like to be dragged in meetings unnecessarily. But if you're part of a self-organized team, then obviously you need to be doing some of these agile rituals, like, you know, planning, refinement, and retrospectives and all that stuff. And that helps as a team and also as an individual to kind of reflect and feedback and learn from each other, actually. So as I said, majority of the time is coding, but obviously we have sessions where we kind of understand the requirements. So we kind of put a different hat as well. So when the requirements come through, obviously the POs or the business analysts may not be able to explain it technically, and we as engineers have to translate them technically and understand what exactly the requirement, what's the best way to implement it. And as both Helena and Peter was alluding to, we need to understand, and I work in the regulatory space as well, so we need to understand, you know, if there are any laws that we are like have to meet. Like, for example, there are some PII information that cannot be visible to everybody and anybody, so we probably need to implement some masking of data. So there's quite a lot of thinking and designing to do, even if you're writing code most of the times. And obviously, when you do that as part of your regular implementation, there are established best practices and established governance rules that you will follow, and it becomes easier over a period of time. Obviously, the first person to do it has to spend a lot more time investigating it. And over a period of time as well, we could get to innovate as well. It's not like we just sit and copy code or write code, but there's lots of new technologies coming all the time. And we explicitly take a week in our sprint cycles to you know, just go and learn new stuff and see how we can improve technology implementations as well. So there's constantly collaboration, there's constantly planning, there's constantly learning aspects. And that's what keeps me going as a lead software engineer.
Yeah, and I guess from an engineering perspective as well, like you said, if there's any PII, personal identifiable information in the data, I guess you're also balancing that observability of your code, say log entries or you know, transaction tracing, things like that, with making sure that you're not exposing information and storing accidentally, you know, telephone numbers in log files or things like that. So you're always kind of balancing that. I'm going to ask another on what you covered there, Priya. In those planning meetings, what's it like for you as an engineer? Is it kind of contributing ideas to solutions, or how's that play out? Kind of, it helps the engineers listening understand what kind of, I guess, behaviors or approaches they might experience in those kind of planning meetings.
Yeah, exactly. So planning is understanding the priorities for that particular sprint. So obviously you're saying like, what's the most important feature that needs to be adding value for the sprint cycle, right? What's the value that's getting added to the end user? That's what we look for, actually. So it's more about prioritizing the right set of functionalities over just creating something that's useful for technical. Of course, you need to do all that as well, but planning is more about priority, adding value to the entire agile cycle. And it's the refinement where we kind of put our engineering minds to say, like, what exactly is needed to implement this? How much capacity do we have to implement this? And, do we exactly know what the acceptance criteria of all these features? So that's when we put our engineering mindset to say, like, okay, this is something we have already done like this, and it's just a repeat one. Or maybe we say, oh, we probably need to, say, for example, if we need to put a cache, nobody knows what's cache, and certainly we have to go and investigate how do we introduce cache to this. So there are those kind of discussions where we tend to understand if there is anything new there, or if there is already an existing one, and then we determine how much capacity we have, and then we just estimate the complexity of the feature, and that's how we go about including those stories in our cycle.
Got you. And you can see that loop closing for people where you kind of said, well, we've got to make sure we're adding customer value, which loops back to what some of the team originally said. Just to finish this, a couple of final questions, kind of taking people into the, so we think onboarding in role stages is, Priya, for yourself, what support have you received from your team or managers during your time at Deutsche?
So obviously, as I said, I started my career as a developer, but then I had about 8 years of gap in between when I was doing a business analyst. And then when I came back to technology, like Helen said, I was trained in Java, but I was put into actually even more difficult functional programming. But I had really, really great support from a very senior manager who hired me in the first place. Till today, he's of great support. And obviously, we had like excellent senior engineers in the team as well, who would explicitly spend time with me to teach me functional programming at that point of time. And obviously, it's more about your passion to learn. So once you understand the basics of programming, learning other languages should be easier in the sense that you just practice over and over again and to get the syntaxes right and things like that. Obviously, functional programming is a little bit different to object-oriented, but the learning curve was definitely steep in the first 6 months. And obviously, learning the enterprise way of implementations, because theoretically you will learn something, but putting it into an enterprise model is different. So there was a lot of support from my fellow engineers to say, how do you do a CI/CD implementation? What's the best practice and things like that. And I took some challenges like writing Spark code. Actually, I didn't know what is Spark, but I just said, like, okay, here is some analytics needed. So do you want to try it? And I just paired with another senior architect and then did that Spark coding as well. So it's more about your inclination to learn new stuff, that you'll make it better and better. You don't have to be a master of all, but then it's just how much of intention you have to learn particular things. And then over a period of time, Deutsche Bank also had a lot of GCP training courses as well. And my project warranted usage of GCP. So that kind of really helped me learn the aspects of GCP whilst I was in the project as well. So training is important. And once you get the basics of all of these, then learning another new language will become easier. And that's why Kotlin was so easier when I moved away from Scala. So definitely you have all the supports, and then peer reviews as well, right? All your fellow engineers can help you review your code and see exactly where your code can be improved. It's not about like a blame game. It's more about supporting you and telling you the best way of implementing certain solutions. And that way we have both, we take input from any kind of engineer, neither senior or junior, it doesn't matter actually, because everybody is the same. And that helps us really improve our code quality over a period of time. So yeah, self-learning, training, attending training sessions, and support from managers and fellow engineers kept me going all the way through.
Brilliant. Thank you. I think that we've got a load more questions, but I'm conscious of wanting to give people time to ask us questions. So thanks everyone for your input on that, and hopefully that's shared with people, help you make the best decisions for yourself and your connection to the program and the organization, because that's the important part, right? We want you to be connected to Deutsche Bank and what they're doing as well for all this. So thank you again, everyone, and I'll pass back to Millie now to go through the final steps.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your perspectives. And I see like Peter is also answering some of the questions in the Q&A, because we won't be able to go probably over every single thing. So thank you so much for that. So in terms of key details, application closed this Friday. So please, if you're interested in applying, submit your application before that, and I'll talk about that in a second. The program itself starts on the 17th of June and lasts for 4 weeks, so it's going to end on the 12th of July. So I've seen that question, and so I just want to clarify how the process works. So basically, you submit a general application to enter the tech returners talent pool, okay? And so when you submit that, we ask you to share your CV and also to tell us what sort of technical languages you have experience in, whether that's Java, JavaScript, or anything else. And so if we believe that you match the criteria that Deutsche Bank has set, then I will send you an invitation to complete the motivations form. And that motivations form is kind of like your first specific application for that program. So there's going to be a question of why do you want to work for Deutsche Bank? What sort of skills can you bring? Things like that. So that is your first specific application. Now, if you have all the eligibility criteria and if your answers are at a level that we are happy with, we'll invite you to an introduction call, which is a short 15-20 minute telephone call with myself to just confirm your details and ask you a couple more questions. And for those of you that are successful through that phone introduction call, we'll invite you to a 45-minute Zoom interview with myself and James. And that is a mixture of technical and behavioral questions to kind of just understand a bit more about how you've approached technical challenges in the past and how you prefer to work. We are very supportive in terms of applications, and so you will receive an interview guide which shares all the questions. So if you want to prepare beforehand, you can. You'll receive that if you're selected for an intro call or a final interview, so you will be able to know exactly what to expect. And for the 4 people that are successful on the program, you'll receive an offer to join it. Now, please don't worry, in the event that you're not successful, you'll still remain in our talent pool, and we might invite you to join any future program that you might be eligible for or your skills are a good match for. So in terms of next steps for yourself, complete the general application form if you haven't done already so. And if you know someone that you think, okay, maybe that's not for me, but I have a friend that is experienced in Java, wants to return, you can refer them, and there is £100 Amazon voucher as a gift if that person gains a place on the program. So we're going to go over some of the questions. I know some of them have been answered, some of them haven't, so I will go through them and try to also ask the relevant people. So there were a couple of questions around visas and eligibility criteria. So for the specific program, we are only accepting British passport holders or people that have indefinite leave to remain. Even if you have a valid visa for the specific program, you're not eligible. You might be able to apply at a later date externally to Deutsche Bank, but for the specific program, this is what we have agreed upon. The second question was around kind of how much interaction will there be with Deutsche Bank during the program, and I believe every single week there's going to be some activity. You might be paired with a buddy that you may kind of have individual interactions with. You'll hear from their team during those lightning talks. You may be able to present and get kind of feedback from their team. So there will be interactions. The goal is for you to start understanding the culture a bit better, getting to know people, and really prepare yourself for that final interview process. In there, like I've talked about the application, so there isn't a specific link to apply for this opportunity. you need to submit a general application and go from there. Now, there are 4 placements on the program. How many roles does Deutsche Bank hire for at the end? Helen, do you mind just sharing kind of what's the number you've had in mind? Yeah, there are 4 people on the program, but how many roles are you looking to hire for?
No, so there's 4 people in the program. We potentially have 4 roles. Obviously, when you complete the course, you then go through, I think as James alluded, we go through our standard lateral hiring process. And then if you're successful there through that, then would be in a position to offer you a role. So yes, there should be a match for the number of candidates going through the course,
Yeah.
but it's entirely dependent on the final interview process.
Yeah, absolutely. And are the roles permanent or temporary?
They are all permanent roles. Yeah.
Fantastic. And in terms of like how many years of commercial experience do you need to have to be eligible? Like, do you have a specific number in mind, or is it more having worked with Java before?
So the roles that we have open are what we, so the title that we give those roles are assistant vice president roles. Typically, we would expect to see sort of up to about 10 years experience for that. Although, you know, anywhere between, I guess, sort of 6 to 10 is acceptable. Really, as I said, depends on the individual, the experience they've had before, and their motivations and how well they've done through the interview process.
Fantastic. And what does the team structure within the Java team look like? Kind of, is there space for progression? Someone asked this question.
Always space for progression. You know, every team looks different, depending on what function it's delivering. Some are relatively large, some can be sort of 3 or 4 people. So it really depends on what part of the organization they're in and the function they're supporting. So, but we have a very comprehensive internal mobility program that sort of anyone that's eligible, I think it's about 18 months working for the organization, you can potentially move role. And we do actively encourage internal mobility as a way of sort of learning new skills. From a progression point of view, we have a very comprehensive career development framework focused on engineers. Peter was one of the authors on that, and that covers both behaviors and competencies that you need to exhibit to move to the next sort of corporate title. And that is, you know, and all the promotion processes hang off that. So as I say, it's a really good sort of foundation and framework, career development framework to sort of associate yourself even from day one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Now, the final question from that person is like whether you have any sort of salary range for the assistant vice president roles. I know this can like vary based on location and so on, but do you have anything that's an indication for people so they have an idea what they can expect if they join?
Yeah, I think, George, we'll probably disclose that at a later date, or we can sort of disclose those to the successful applicants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, we certainly do have ranges, but yeah, I think it's something that we can kind of zone in on when we get to that stage in the interview round.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. So in terms of like people coming from a different technology and being upskilled into Java, 4 weeks is not a long enough time if you've never worked with Java, even if you have experience with another OOP language. So unfortunately, like for that specific program, I don't think this is a good fit. James, anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I would have said the same, Millie. I think, like you said, relating it to the timeline available to you, and it's focused in on we want to align your background career with what Deutsche Bank leverage, you know, kind of thing. And you can see probably from what Priya was sharing, there's that kind of JVM based languages. So Java, there's Kotlin mentioned, Scala is another JVM based language, but yeah, Java as a background, I think sets you in good stead for a career with Deutsche Bank. So if it's a different technology, maybe it might not be the right specific program, different language stack or things like that. Because we do, like Millie said, we do. The time period is 4 weeks.
Yeah, Thank you very much, James. And Helen, maybe like one for you as well, like in terms of like what kind of candidates are being recruited in terms of expertise and domain knowledge. Do you need people to have previously worked in the financial sector, or are you open to people who maybe not necessarily have that experience?
No, the domain knowledge in this case is not important. Be great if they have it, but we're not expecting that at all. And a lot of that is acquired, you know, on the job, so to speak. And you know, if you and certainly those individuals who've got a sort of passion to learn about that you know, that would be valuable.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I know, like, Peter, like you mentioned a lot around kind of how you upskill people and kind of take them from graduates all the way to senior level. Do you mind just kind of sharing briefly kind of what support and training development initiatives are available for maybe for the returner joining at that level? What can they expect?
Yeah. So I can cover this a bit. So like Priya said, there's a lot of support from within your team. So quite a lot of our training and upskilling is actually within a team, working with some technologies and learning from other people. So that's the sort of the more like informal everyday learning that we have. But we have a number of programs that we offer. For this group, probably the relevant ones are, we have a very comprehensive set of training that we offer on Google Cloud. We've won awards for our quality of our training that we do with Google Cloud. We've trained several thousand people within DB to different levels. Someone was mentioning about certification. We offer something called ACE, which is Associate Cloud Engineer certification. We also offer the Cloud Architect certification. We're starting to offer other certifications on Google Cloud. So a number of things there. We also have a program, and this is probably the most relevant program to this group, called the Global Enterprise Engineer. We generally offer that to our AVP and VP candidates. So it would be this role and a slightly more senior role. And that's not a technical course. So you're not learning coding or cloud or anything in that. It's much more about rounding your skills to be a technology leader. So it's learning about influencing, engaging, working with others, and the sort of skills that move you from an individual contributor, someone who spends all of their time coding, to someone who's more of a technology leader who spends time like leading teams and guiding others and setting technology direction. So that's a course we've run for several years now. We have I think about 300 or 400 people have gone through that course, and that forms our sort of community of senior engineers as well. And that's another option. And then we also have a number of other things that we do sort of more ad hoc. We have a set of communities in different technologies. So we have a community for DevOps, we have a community for AI and data science, a community for Java development and for security. And those themselves offer their own training or learning that you can get from within those groups. And then those groups help us to run what we call our engineering days, which is once a quarter, we have an engineering day, which is like a mini conference that we run internally. And people will come along and talk about their projects, or they talk about something interesting for others to do. And that's very much like everybody contributes presentations and attends presentations. So we do that as a sort of managed by the community, and encourage people to use that as a way to share with others what they're doing and learn from others what they're doing. So there's a lot of different things, ranging from things which are quite formal to things which are very much sort of more on the job and day to day.
Fantastic. This all sounds really amazing. And I think there is a lot to be learned for people depending on their interests and kind of where their passions lie and where they want to progress with in the next couple of years. So amazing. So just to kind of like sum up probably the role for everyone that is in here, the role is a Java role. You need to have at least a few years of experience working in Java, ideally 6 to 10 years of that experience. And the role is based in London. It's 3 days, kind of like moving to 3 days in the office. So there is some flexibility, but it is a very much a hybrid role. So people from the London area would be the best fit for this specific program, because there is that aspect of being in office. So like I mentioned, like there is some questions in here around like people from different backgrounds and so on. We still encourage you to submit your general application, because even though you might not be a good fit for this specific program, we are currently running a C# program with a different hiring partner. We might be running some different C# programs in the future. So we want to have you in the pipeline, even if you're not necessarily suitable for that specific one. So let me just kind of double check a little bit more. Is 5 years of experience considered, Helen, kind of from your perspective, like, is there like a little bit of flexibility on that if someone is experienced with Java?
I think any less would probably struggle with the sort of the autonomy we would expect them to have. So yeah, I think 5 is probably minimum there.
Yeah. All right. That's absolutely fine. And again, I think it's really, really important, because someone may have 20 years of experience and still not have that level of autonomy. And someone may have 5, but have been in charge of projects and teams. And so again, we really, really want to support people with that. Are there any completely remote roles with Deutsche Bank, or are all the roles hybrid at the moment?
Roles are all hybrid, yeah.
Roles are all hybrid. Okay, thank you for confirming that. So I think this is pretty much everything that we have in the chat, and like, apologies if there is something that we have accidentally missed. You can always call us on the Tech Returners phone, or send us an email, hello@Tech Returners, so that I'll be able to answer individually if there is something specific we haven't covered. But thank you so, so much, James and the Deutsche Bank team, for being here. Really, really appreciate your input and all the valuable information that you have shared today with our returners. For those of you that are still here and watching, I hope to see your applications soon. As a reminder, the deadline to apply is this Friday, so please make sure to submit your general application, and I will be in touch if you are a good fit. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.